So order the ad hoc sidewalk committee on this day, March 24th, 2026. Any public comment? Seeing none, let's talk about correspondence.
So you saw a couple of correspondence that we had from the meeting. I thought what Bruce Charette gave us was kind of interesting. You know, this municipal sidewalk thing. So I thought that was interesting. So anyway, it does have a study on, but each, you know, so that was good information.
Yeah.
Good information.
And to build on all the information that you guys did, which is all the same.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was good.
It just does the entire state.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then Sarah Burns is just, she had to leave the meeting, but we saw her correspondence too. We'll add it to our stuff.
All right. I have a motion to approve the minutes. Has everyone looked at the minutes from our February 10th meeting?
I have, and I approve,
And second, and approve. Yes.
the affirmative, yeah.
Okay, and also the minutes from February 19th?
Same.
Same here, approved. And now on to new business, the recap of the public information meeting from February 19th.
Right, so, I mean, I think you can see from the minutes, I think in general, right, that the majority of the people there were probably more pro sidewalk, some of them being more extreme to, if possible, let's take over an entire sidewalk program, to probably most of the people that were pro sidewalk saying that, you know, fixing the sidewalks, I think most of the people there that were supportive think that that should probably be a town's responsibility, and maybe a phased in type of approach.
Or shared.
A shared, yeah, and then the people that were against it is the stuff that we typically heard about, except that your neighbor, I forgot his name right off the top of my head, he had some information that I'm not actually sure is 100% accurate about liability and things like that,
Yes.
but, so I think that it's not surprising that the people that come to a meeting like that are probably more inclined to want sidewalks.
I have heard from some lawyers that, you know, that is not a thing.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say, I've heard a lot of the contrary, that's exactly what I was
Yeah.
gonna say too. And I also think, for what it's worth in our discussion, because we did have some comment, at town council, that meeting was strictly supposed to be like a upper level, looking down at sidewalks and not really focus on Meadow Road. So if anybody felt unheard on the Meadow Road thing, their chance is coming at the end of April, when we have our,
public
public
hearing.
hearing, yeah.
We're gonna hear anyway, apparently.
Yeah.
Right, so I guess I wrote in the remarks that my thought is that, you know, I think we know what we know. We have to make some decisions about whether or not we want to do anything with the ordinance. That's our charge. My personal opinion is we really can't do anything with the ordinance until we do a public survey, which has now been funded by the council. So my thought would be is that this committee, you know, goes and we give a presentation to the town council, which basically what we did. These are the things that we still don't really know the answer to. And one of, I think the biggest one is the town gonna start a maintenance program on existing sidewalks? I mean,
Right.
everyone's gonna start that, you know, some of these other things, and then give most of this information to whoever our survey person is. And they can incorporate questions about sidewalks in the community survey, and this committee go on pause, and then once we get the stuff back, we can reconvene again
Yeah.
and see about if we want to make any recommendations.
When do we see that survey going out, like best case?
I mean, I had spoken to Brian a little bit. A community survey is like a
Big job, that's
undertaking.
right.
Yeah, it's gonna be a year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it'll be a year.
So more than likely we'll reconvene this spring of
Yeah.
27.
Yeah, I would say a year.
Yeah, and so when would Brian and I be giving anything to town council at our next regular meeting, our next update?
I didn't bring it with me. Do you have the email I sent? I think it was this May.
Actually, yeah,
That makes
Was
sense
it-
after
Yeah, it was after
Yeah,
the budget.
budget.
Yeah,
That's what we said.
yeah.
to start the yes, it was May, because we want to, I think,
We want to get through the Meadow Road side.
through the Meadow Road,
I
through the
agree.
budget, But then also for a broad community survey, you're gonna want to cast a big net for participants on that survey committee.
Yeah.
So like we did for the FHS survey committee, we sent like a call to action for, if you're interested in serving on this committee, we want to expand our reach.
Yeah.
So we want time to market that. And also with school still in session between the end of May and mid-June, we can do Friday folder. We can get the word out to before people go away. And then form the committee in probably July.
So I guess just for that public hearing, we have, just as like a FAQ type thing in the packet, like this is what our current ordinance is, just so members of the council that aren't as like steep in the sidewalk stuff understand, like this is what we currently do.
Yeah.
So that, because that's outside of what report we would do, just to make
Yeah,
sure.
you're saying it's the April agenda.
Yeah, for the April agenda, for
Yeah,
that second meeting,
Yeah.
just to say it, just, as a catch up, this is what our ordinance is.
Yeah,
This is what
and
we're gonna do,
actually, what Devin's doing for me right now, and it's actually pretty simple, is he's giving me a chart of like, because our ordinance is really geared towards if you're going to have assessments levied on it. So it's really kind of very simple. It's that, and it's a lot of the authority is it comes through the town manager. It's like the town manager can recommend sidewalks, he or she can recommend who pays for them. I'm supposed to do that to the council during this public hearing. The residents, you're only required to send a certified letter to the people that live on, or that are being affected by assessments. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna do it on both sides of the street. And then they get a map, and then the council, I'll deal with the money part of it, which would be no money. Russ would do the, part of it, the map showing that, open it up to the public, and that's basically it. But that will be in the chart.
Okay. And so, I don't know if this is relevant, but like, so when that comes up, that you said you're gonna give a recommendation as part of that. Yeah, like, so you obviously wouldn't be, you'd be recommending it in the affirmative. That's what we're having a public hearing.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, and it's really, and that's where, again, there's some confusion, like with some people is that this wasn't driven by a million people calling me and doing this. This was driven because a bike committee, our objectives have been to try to find ways to get sidewalks, people to the trails.
Connectivity has been a buzzword for 20 years.
And try to do that. And so that's why I'm recommending it. And then we've had, as you guys know, an informal policy that if we haven't gotten grants, we haven't done, but we were able to get the grant. And so now I'm gonna be recommending that we install the sidewalk and that we follow the town ordinance, that once it's installed, the residents maintain the sidewalk per town ordinance, but there's no assessment on the homeowners. The council should know about it because you've just put money to pay for, past councils, half grant, half in the capital.
Yeah.
And it's funded already.
Would it make sense I know you guys are gonna give the presentation to the town council.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna be recorded, but if we took that specific recording and put that as a video link on the sidewalk committee page, if people go there to get information and they're not really reading the entire ordinance, at least they can watch that.
I mean,
For those who are,
I guess I wouldn't want it on this committee, but what we could do is we could maybe people would look at the sidewalk committee and we could say, if you're interested in the Meadow Road sidewalk project, we could link it to somewhere else
Right.
because this sidewalk committee, again, the charge really hasn't been Meadow Road.
yeah, I was talking not for Meadow Road specifically at all.
Oh, okay.
I was just talking about, for sidewalk people who are interested about the ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we
sure,
can
sure,
put,
sure, yeah.
the public we have a video for the public information meeting. We can make sure that video, which is the presentation of current ordinance and all of that stuff,
Right.
we can link that on that page. That's an
That
existing
might be a
page.
good place.
Yeah, oh,
I'm
yeah,
just saying it's
yeah.
great information that people always question but won't read about, but they will watch a,
Right, and
5-minute video.
Yeah, so what did we say? I can't read, I'm sorry. So I thought we
Looks
said
like the
here, and
second.
again, it hasn't been formalized yet, but we thought that, so the first May meeting, we'd have the fire ad hoc committee presentation and set up the fire building committee.
Mhm.
And then the second meeting in May, a sidewalk presentation and a motion to pause the committee. And then the townwide survey to start talking about that. And so it would be the second May that
Beautiful.
I thought we'd do the presentation, basically what we did for the public.
Yeah. And we'll be able to promote in May you know, people who might be interested in serving on that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would, given the council's, blessing to move forward with that, that would enable us to market, hey, we're doing a sidewalk, we're interested in volunteers. If you're interested, I'll have a Google form, like, we'll get the word out, and then we would be looking to establish that, I think it was on here in July, establish the committee in July based on who's, requested, and then their work would start in September.
Right.
And that, and that's inclusive of other things outside the sidewalks. too,
Right.
just-
Yeah, it's a total
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think for that, you want to get people that maybe haven't served on it, like, you want to get input from all facets of the community. So
Right.
casting a wide net and doing a call to action, I think would help build that committee.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, and we, at the council meeting in April, the next council meeting after, in the manager's report and its quarterly reports, the council, I think, is gonna have a conversation, Brian and I haven't talked about it yet, but we probably will, about, this is our goal, that I assume to do sidewalks and do this community survey has to get bumped up. We need to do that, and that's why I have it on. But also just an understanding that doing a community survey is a big lift. It's a big
Yeah.
lift for the council, it's a big lift for everyone. So that's just something that I think it's good to do, but it's not easy. It's not an easy, it's a big lift.
Do we have what, 10 years ago, 12 years
Yeah.
ago do we have
Yeah.
the survey that we
Yeah.
could at least
Yeah,
look at?
Yeah, we have the
that?
whole
Unless we wanna
committee
build
file.
on that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that.
Okay.
And we recently did a similar, on a much smaller scale, but after the first high school referendum failed, we had a high school survey committee in which they did an RFP. They got a group to come in and build a survey from scratch. So it's a similar
Right.
process that we just went through a few years ago
And the
also.
group that we used last time is no longer.
They're
in
no
business,
longer
you
in
were saying.
business, yeah.
And the one that did the high school, is that no longer in business too?
So we used them for the high school, and then we used them again. We did a survey for this 1928 building. There was an ad hoc. We used them also, and they're no longer, it's the same group.
Drove them out of business.
Yeah.
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 Throw in a business.
Yeah, but one of the things, and sort of off topic, but anyway, is that one of the things that is important in these sidewalk committees is that surveying is a science, it's a mathematical, and having a group that can explain that to the public, that because we have, 25,000 people here, that doesn't mean we're surveying 25,000 people.
There's a sample
Right.
There's a
size.
sample size that works, and you're allowed, and it's a science, and it might, I was like, does it really? But
Oh, it's
it
huge.
does work, because what comes out is
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
indicative of what the
And
community wants.
You gotta have a good cross-section of age, of, Unionville, Farmington, of,
Oh, yeah.
different community members. Make sure you have a distribution of that with a margin of error, like, there's a small margin of error in the results that represents the larger community.
And I
And my old
think,
company used to do product surveys similar to these.
Yeah.
yeah,
Not municipal.
right,
So, but I know what you mean, to kind of get the temperature of all the different verticals that you
Right.
try to serve.
And then you can they'll give you like raw data where you can do a cross tabulation of, well, this group and this group is more likely to favor this versus this population. Like, it's just
Yeah.
interesting data that you can get based off of all the responses.
I mean, we'll get to it, it's way off in the conversation.
Yeah.
Just have to make sure.
But
that
it
we
is
have the-
fascinating.
The
Yeah.
cost part associated with this stuff, so if we get
Yeah,
good
right.
data on that, too. I know people estimate, some people said it's cheap, and there's no like.
It's not cheap.
This, that, the other thing is like, but the cost to actually do this, because it sounds nice, but you're like, yes.
Yes.
We all know.
Right.
Well, I mean, I could do a survey tomorrow on our website, but it's not that scientific. Like,
Yeah.
I can't see how many people used it from the same IP address, or Keith put in 10 responses, like, there's no way I can do it, but it's not
It's not
It's
scientific.
not the right
It's not.
data we want.
No, and the other thing I think is really important is that you need to, like you said, widen our reach, because the questions can't be, in my opinion, can't be driven by the people that are involved so closely in the town.
Yeah.
You want people that they like Farmington, and they're gonna ask questions without like some kind of Joe Smith, have they ever thought about sidewalks before? That person should be on this committee, because.
That was what was nice about public information, because having done this for a while, Brian, like, there was people that, I've never seen it,
Yeah.
Right.
for sure.
And they care.
So it's just, so sidewalks do, hit those.
Yeah,
Like, someone did say to me, why don't we just do what we already know people want? And I said, we don't know what people want. We know what our friends want. We know our small circle.
Right.
We know all the circles. And like you were saying, not only do we learn what different people want, we can also learn who's willing to pay for that.
Right,
Who wants to invest in it, who does not.
right.
And our first survey person, who I really liked and was very UConn, and he did tons and tons of stuff.
What's he
He
doing
always,
now?
he does,
I think he still does it.
That Chris Barnes?
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think we reached out to him.
We'll have to check,
remember.
but one thing he always said, and we have to like put that into like any council all the time. Once you survey people, you don't like the answer, that's too bad.
The answer is the answer. Yeah.
And what people can't stand is that you survey people and the results come through and you don't do the things that they say that they want.
Yeah.
And so you have to be very careful about those things.
Well, that's why it's important to hit a wide reach.
Yes.
Because if you only get one group and then you get an answer, because again, I would love to have sidewalk over too, but I personally don't think that our tax revenue is stretching that far.
No.
Colossally changing what we do with that.
Well, that's why I kind of like the idea of going on the community survey, because now you can compare sidewalks and you're actually doing it comprehensively with everything else, so.
So if we do it, then it's gotta go to referendum that still has to pass.
Yeah.
So I think that's the next steps, and that in May, we could do it by email, you know, at the council, you know, just get the presentation that we did. And I may shorten it a little bit, but just kind of saying these are still, the conclusion will be, these are the things that we still don't really know the answer to. But we can show that we've surveyed, we put some policies in place, we, you know, done our due diligence and gone through everything. And that's kind of our report to the council.
Which will be good, because most of the councils at that meeting too.
Yeah.
And I hope you heard that people in the room said your presentation was really helpful because they didn't realize all the intricacies. It
Right.
seems pretty simple and basic, but it was helpful.
Yeah.
So, nice job.
So that's it.
All right, do we have any other business to discuss, other than the other business we've already discussed?
Just so you know, I did respond to Mrs. Allison Krell.
Yes, I read that, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yes, no, yes, but here's why.
I said at the beginning to come and talk, so that's good. All right, thank you.
If we're all set, motion to adjourn
So move.
and approved, in, done.
All right.